All right, the long run back to live events. Welcome to the webinar. Today we've got 4 different seminars after this session. It's virtual, challenge, in-person, and the hybrid. Each has a different link, and you just go to that runsignup.com/virtual symposium winter to be the place where you get those links. Tomorrow, we've got at 11:30 again, a success story panel kicking off with some of the customers that had some success in 2020. Hopefully we can all learn some lessons from that. And then after that, we've got just a ton of really short, 20-minute focused, detailed, education sessions so that everybody can try to learn different tricks and tools to make your events better. So today I was going to start off by talking about COVID, and then I was going to give an overview of RunSignup and GiveSignup, and then I was going to do the RunSignup side of what our 2020 recap is on the technology side and what our plans for 21 is. And then I'm going to turn it over to Allison, and she's going to do the GiveSignup side of that. And then Johanna is going to review the trends report that we just published on our site, runsignup.com/trends. That is 80 pages of more graphs than you'll ever want to see again. So here's the numbers and kind of how it impacted.
Sorry, your slides aren't showing.
All right, how about now? Are they showing?
Good now. Yep.
Great. So these are our numbers. So last year we had about a 1% growth in the number of races. You can see we had a 23% decline in number of registrations and a 19% decline in number of transactions. Number of page views actually increased. I think this is because of challenges. Now, take these numbers somewhat in context, because the first couple months of last year, we were actually up about 29%. So these numbers are actually kind of more like 5% worse than what they appear here. This graph down below shows you how our transaction volume kind of happened, and you can see the huge dip that happened here in the middle of March, and then this slow climb back. And then you also see this big gap that happened in November because Johanna did a blog post on this. I think we fell from like 530,000 to 160,000 registrations for turkey trots in 2020. What you can see on this graph is that the top, the gray, is challenge events. The middle are virtual events, and the bottom are in-person live events. And you can see how it kind of gradually increased. And these are registrations, not the actual events happening. It's registrations happening. So I'm sure we're all following our own different types of charts and so forth to kind of keep track of COVID. This is a fairly decent one. The red line is the 7-day average for number of cases, and the good news lately is that it is going down rapidly. The black line is the death line, and unfortunately that has been far too many during this tragedy. It looks like we may wind up with a total that is equal to or greater than the total number lost of U.S. citizens lost in wars in the 20th century. So World War I plus World War II plus Vietnam plus Korea, etc. So it's been bad, and so my next few charts are kind of more on the hopeful side, but I want to be cognizant that this was a very very difficult time for a lot of people. Here's the start of kind of a future look. So there's this R factor that a lot of us have learned about, and it's basically the replication factor. So if it's above 1, that means it's going to escalate exponentially. If it's below 1, that means it's going to decline. And this is a chart that I followed fairly closely, and it looks at each state and says whether they're below 1 on the decline or above 1 on the rise. So if you looked at this chart in like November or December, it was a lot of red. What's hopeful is that the number of green states has increased markedly. And actually, there weren't, a month or two ago, there were a few green states, but they were like 0.9 or 0.95 or something like that. So this is a good news chart. US vaccinations obviously is really one of the keys. I think we're around 7 or 8% of the US population has gotten at least one shot. I think that, it's, kind of the glass half full view of this is that over 1 million people are getting shots per day. There's obviously been a lot of hiccups in that whole supply chain. And I expect that, that's going to continue for a little while, but I also have confidence that there are a lot of really good people out there trying to solve these problems. We have a couple of friends of ours like Troy Rebert down in Knoxville or Dave McGilvery and Matt West up in Boston. They're actually personally involved in trying to get shots in arms. And, you just look at the people that are starting to work on this, and it just gives me confidence that things are going to get figured out. This is another chart that talks about, the progress to herd immunity. And what's really interesting about this is that these months are not that far away. So May is actually not that far away. And you can see how kind of things kind of accumulate here, both people that have been infected, the purple, as well as the people that are getting vaccinations. And then this is a nice kind of summary graph that kind of shows an overall projection. University of Washington puts this out. And if you look at, by April, and these are first of the month timeframes. If you look by April 1st, the rate is lower than what it was last summer. So I feel like there's a fair amount of hope coming. And I had a plan to play this song called Better Days Ahead by Ant Clemens and Justin Timberlake in the front, but I couldn't get the audio sounding good. So look it up, it'll brighten your day. So how we look at this for our business purposes, in 2019, we processed $270 million of your money. In 2020, we processed 217 million. We think 2021, we're kind of basing it relative to 2019. And basically what we're saying is that in Q1, we're going to be down 20% from where we were. But by the mid to late summer, we should be back to about where we were. Now, we have some unnatural advantages in that we really aren't back to where we were. It's the fact that we've picked up so many customers. Both the fact that we were growing 25–30% before the pandemic hit, and then what's happened for us during the pandemic is we've picked up a lot of market share. A lot of new customers are coming to us. So how's this translate to you all? I think everybody has this need for money. Our customer service and salespeople have talked to a number of customers, and we've actually had customers crying, about having to close their nonprofit or their business, or not being able to do what they wanted to do for the people that they're trying to help, and so forth. And what it all comes down to is money. And people you all utilize events to generate your revenue for whatever your mission is. And what you have to do when you're looking at your business is you can't look at today. You have to look at where the puck is going to be. You have to skate to where the puck is going to be. And so what we're seeing out there is that there's an advantage to those early movers. So there's a bunch of races that are going to be postponing from the spring to the fall. And like Boston just recently announced that they're moving to October, I think. And so things are going to get crowded in the fall, but you need to capture those weekends. So like my little race, Scott Coffee race in Moorestown, we're getting approval from the town council to plan that for the first week in June. Now we're planning that as a hybrid event. In case we can't really have it live, we can just transition over to virtual. Those that want to participate virtually can do it. And we're going to institute the types of social distancing types of lessons that we've learned to run a safe event for that in June. But it's important to our little Rotary Club to get that on the schedule so that we attract runners and we kind of get that date locked down. And so it's this idea of grabbing market share. And I know that doesn't necessarily sound great. It might be too businessy for some of the nonprofits here, but that's what it comes down to. Shelley did a timer survey, and Johanna will be sharing some of that at the end. But one of the interesting things is that 45% of timers plan on taking market share. So there's we've seen kind of two extremes on how people are handling this right now. One is that they're in hibernation, they're just waiting for everything to be good again. And the other are the people that are trying to figure out solutions and so forth. And so the purpose of this 2 days is really to try to give you ideas of how you can make the best of a bad situation and try to take that long run back to live events. So let me talk a little bit about our company strategy. I just finished reading this Jeff Bezos book. It's basically just an accumulation of his annual letters and then a few speeches he wrote. So the quote's down here at the bottom. In this turbulent global economy, our fundamental approach remains the same. Stay heads down, focus on the long term, and obsessed over customers. And that's from his 2008 shareholder letter. And I felt that that's kind of what we did this past year. And we kind of rallied around these couple of slides, these couple of concepts that have stayed consistent from the beginning. So what we do is we build technology, and we build beautiful technology, and we work really, really hard at that. And that's our unique differentiator. And we target that at specific markets. For the first 10 years of our existence, we targeted that at endurance and races. And now we're expanding that to nonprofits because so many of those customers there were asking us for help for other things like their galas and their golf outings and so forth. And the way we do this is we listen to customers, we write everything down. We have this enormous list of things of ideas that we've gotten from all of you. And we share that on our GitHub issues report. And we literally have 10,000 ideas and have implemented many of them. We do that on a single platform. So we're not custom building or anything. So we remain extraordinarily efficient. And then we just keep making it better and better and better just every single day. So, and really it's all targeted at trying to help you guys raise more money and improve things. So we've come up with this new diagram that I think I like. We may keep adjusting it, but I really like the basic concept of it. So around the outside are your supporters, and in the middle is you and your mission, right? And really what we have in a nutshell is a way to engage your supporters. And we do that originally through Run, Walk, Ride, right? So we help people put on races with our technology. People sign up, and we created websites and email marketing and things like that. But we also allowed for fundraising and donations inside of those. What we've been doing over the past year and a half is expanding that out. So it enables a nonprofit to touch all of their supporters and to really engage them, right? And so whether it's ticket events and you're trying to engage ticket holders, or like we have a volunteer platform. We actually have a system in our race system for sponsors, and we'll be doing one this year for the GiveSignup ticket side as well. We have new and exciting donation capabilities and recurring donations, and hopefully in the next year and a half, we'll put together a next generation membership system that's beyond what we currently have. basically think of us as the technology that you can use to touch and engage, activate your supporters, whatever they may be. So we were founded on this set of guiding principles, and a lot of them are just kind of philosophies of how we wanted to create this company. The left-hand circle is this idea that I think it's why people wake up in the morning. So I think people wake up in the morning and they want to work hard, they want to learn, they want to have fun, and they want to do that within the context of other people. So they want to do that as part of a team. And then this middle circle is kind of how we've remained efficient. We basically give people responsibility in our team, and we trust them that they will do that. And when we do that, that gives them an enormous amount of I don't know, it's just self-worth. So, like Johanna put together this whole thing, and she took full responsibility for it, and we all trust her because she's done it so well so many times. And that winds up being very efficient because the rest of us don't have to worry about a lot of the details. Now, this circle on the right has changed some. So in the past, I've talked about the three-legged stool of employees, customers, and owners. And until September of 2020, our ownership was entirely employee-based. We made a decision in September to take outside funding. And the reason for that, the historical reason why we didn't take outside funding is that the endurance market, frankly, is too small and it doesn't warrant extra funds. And so we could be efficient just in that. But as we moved into the nonprofit marketplace, we wanted to make sure that we didn't kind of steal from endurance to put into nonprofit focus. And we wanted to have the capital necessary to invest in that business. In addition, the nonprofit space that we're going after is probably about 50 times larger than the endurance space. And so there's an opportunity to create a more sizable company. And to do that, you need to have financial backing to do that. And so we now have these co-owners that have joined us. They own less than 10% of the company. It's PayRock, which is a payment processing company, and they're good partners. And I would expect that in another year and a half, we might take another round once we start to see live events come back and our revenue start to scale. I think that this is a very healthy thing, because one of the fundamental things you need in a company is not just good technology and good people. You need the financial wherewithal to kind of carry that forward. And like personally, I'm really excited about having the resources that we need to be able to grow. One of the things that we were able to do in 2020 is that we actually grew our staff from 45 to 54 from January 1st of 2020 to right now. Actually, I think with Jen joining this week, I think we're at 55. So we've actually been able to increase the number of people at RunSignup to serve our customers and to expand what we can do. So our business strategy, this is really funny because we're engaging with more kind of new customers, new nonprofits. And and our sales team will call people up and they'll be like, I don't understand. You don't charge a subscription. You can't, I don't understand how you do that. And when we started the company back 11 plus years ago, there were two fundamental things here at the base. One is we focused on creating a model that was easy to do business with us. So that meant low pricing. It meant a non-exclusive contract, meaning that we didn't lock you in. You could leave us at any point in time because we don't want the overhead of unhappy customers. An open API, data is owned by you. We're not trying to advertise to your customers or anything like that. And then on the right-hand side here is we felt that there was a need for a company that just focused on technology and, a bunch of nerds, if you will. One of the early descriptions about us was that we were a bunch of cross-country nerds, like the type of cross-country engineering nerds that you see in high school or college or something like that. And that if we built this technology differentiation, that it would be something that customers would come to, and it basically lowers our costs of sales and marketing. So if you look at our overall expenses, we weigh very heavy on the development side and much lower on the sales and marketing side. And we're able to do this because we get this magical thing of customer referrals. So people like us, they recommend us to their customers. The new customers say, oh, geez, it's easy to start off with you. I don't have to make any commitment. Our business is aligned. When you make money, when I make money, you make some money. That seems very fair to us. And oh, let me use your technology. Oh, it's easy to get started. I can just start with one little thing at a time and just build from there. So it's wound up being really great. So let's talk about technology. Participant management. So we always had a really strong participant management platform, and we really built up on that this past year to try to solve the problems of COVID. And we had literally millions of people that had signed up for races that need to be managed in some way, shape, or form. And to do that in manual ways would have been totally inefficient. So we created new and better ways to help races manage their participants. We also made a huge investment in virtual. As you saw the graphs at the first slide, we just made this huge shift in the overall industry. And because we already had a good virtual platform, and because we really adapted quickly and got a lot of good technology out quickly, then we attracted more and more new customers. So we did a whole bunch of really nice stuff that improved the usability for virtual users, and it made it much more interactive. So things like Race Joys Run Anywhere, or the result posting, or the participant photo uploads and things like that really engaged customers and gave you all a great platform to try to make something out of that situation. Laz and Steve Durbin created the Great Virtual Race Across Tennessee on our platform, and they used Google Forms to try to keep track of things. And we were like, geez, we need to build something for this. And it's wound up being a huge platform. Allison will share some numbers with you later. But it's really fun. And the same two guys are doing this great, it's circumpolar navigation of the world, race around the world. And so they've broken the world into these pieces. And like, here's a little map of a person that's running through Southeast Asia right now. But easy logging, trophy cases, teams, people being able to track their friends and family. It was just a really, really fun project. Matt Avery was a product manager on it, and he did just a fabulous job of pulling the development team together and get us going with just a great platform for customers. Also with virtual came a lot of shipping, and so we had some really nice shipping changes to our product. And we have this new way of kind of charging based upon geography. So you can charge more if you're shipping to Alaska, or you can pick which countries you want to ship to and have custom prices for that. So in this example, it's $15 for Alaska and Hawaii. It's $7.50 for all other states. It's $15 for Canada, and $20 for Mexico. We also saw a gradual increase in live races. Back at our summer symposium, Todd talked about this, Todd Henderlong, and we wrote up a blog, one of our most successful blogs of all time back in May. He was one of the first people in the country to have a live race. And we've learned a lot, and it turns out that software can really help in that. And so we've customized our scoring software, the race director and race day scoring, to help timers support these rolling start lines or these open start lines and make it really easy for them. We redesigned our corral system to make it really easy to have people sign up, 50 people every 15 minutes or whatever your metrics might be. And then we also did a lot of work with RaceJoy, and RaceJoy, you'll see later, has become extraordinarily popular, with races and timers. We also introduced Photos 2.0, and this was always in the plan, but it was nice for it to come out now. The first thing we did is we actually rebuilt our infrastructure. So we have millions of photos, somewhere between 5 and 10 million photos now, but we needed to have a new infrastructure if we were going to scale it to hundreds of millions of photos, which we anticipate over the coming years. So we did that, and then we put in the participant upload capability, and that has proven to be really popular. We redesigned, and we're just about finished with the project. It's been, like most things, we do continuous improvement. Most of the UX has been redesigned. It's much easier to use if you're the director or the photographer to manage your photos, better control over albums and things like that. We've got this new set of capabilities that has taken results integration to a whole new level. We've got team photo pages. We've got new moderation of photos. We've got a photo API that we're going to be working with a couple of outside vendors on who have different applications that you can just kind of set and forget, like an iPhone camera, and it will just snap pictures whenever somebody runs across the mat and upload those pictures automatically. I'll be doing a demo tomorrow at 2 o'clock on photos, if you want to see this. So 21 roadmap, financial system. So we're doing, 2015 was the last time that we did a major refresh on the financial system, and we're doing it again. We're in the process right now. So we have new payment processors on the back end, and we're actually going to go with 2 payment processors, and that will allow us to auto failover if one is having problems or something. We're coming up with lots of new interfaces for customer onboarding, for account payment and financial reports and things like that. We will be making it harder to do checks. Checks are really burdensome and very costly to us, and we've been eating a lot of that cost, and we want to pass that cost back to the people that do require checks. One near-term thing that's coming out probably in the next couple weeks is this idea of vouchers. And what's cool about vouchers is that you can give a voucher to somebody, say $100, and then that person would be able to use that across a set of your races. So they might be able to use $60 to sign up for one race and then use the remaining $40 on a different race. So it's kind of a companion to coupons, but it gives you a different set of capabilities, and I think it's going to be really useful for a lot of the deferral types of situations. I know it's going to be useful for a lot of the Ultra Sign Up customers that want to move over to RunSignup this year. Supporter engagement is a really exciting project. So Rich Zabaro, who joined us in 2020, is a brilliant software developer, and Jeff Cohart and Jen Levis are going to be working on this project as well. So it's a crackerjack team, and basically what we've come up with is a way to kind of create a single contact out of all the different users, so that we'll try to use a bunch of different mechanisms, analysis, to take the person that donated and the person that signed up for your 5K and the person that came to your gala and show you a single view of them. And then introduce a whole new set of filters that will enable you to generate reports. And along with that, that's going to go into a new next-gen email system. So there's a lot of work to do. It's going to kind of slowly roll out over 2021. and you'll see a lot of fruits from this. The vision will really become very tangible, probably towards the end of the calendar year and into 2022 and beyond. It's a really exciting project, really kick-ass technology underneath the covers and everything. The other thing that we've just put out a blog post about is there's another third party called RegForward who integrates with our open API. And so if you have a separate CRM or donor management system or email system that you want to do automated integrations with, and they support Zapier, RegForward can implement that in a very cost-effective way. We're looking for some beta customers right now, so if you're interested in that, like you want to go to Salesforce, or you want to go to Constant Contact or something like that, and maybe do a nightly push of anybody new, that you can come and see that. Race day scoring. So this is our scoring software that's used by timers. This is the core of the stuff that tells you finished third in your race, right? We silently have been just really focused on continuing to upgrade this product during the course of the year. Even though timers weren't using it very much at all because of the lack of live events, we actually did 36 releases of this software. In 2021, we've got really exciting plans. It will be functionally superior, equal to or superior to the race director by the end of the calendar year. So we're right on time with our plan to offer the race director customers a smooth migration. We continue to offer to support the race director through 2023. And it's really great to see this product kind of continuing to improve. With that said, we're really excited to announce that MyLapse has picked Race Day Scoring as the scoring software that they're going to bundle with their hardware. MyLapse, for those of you who don't know, is one of the largest timing equipment companies, and their customers are now going to get a free kind of starter subscription to Race Day Scoring. So, they may be utilizing another product or something like that, but this allows them to have something that comes out of the box. We'll certify the hardware and the software together to make sure it works. We're coordinated in terms of how we support things and so forth. And then MyLapse will be able to resell Race Day Scoring as well. So if you need to upgrade to 50 or 100,000 finishers a year, you'll be able to get it from your hardware supplier as well. We're also going to be partnering on the registration side as well, which is great. All this stuff is open. So MyLapse is still open. They still work with all the other different registration companies and all the other scoring platforms. And we remain open, so this does not harm our relationships with Chronotrack or Race Result or RFID or US Sports Timing, RM Timing, and things like that. But this partnership should be pretty nice for MyLapse customers. So we look forward to partnering with Mike and his team. Race Day Suite, there's more to it than Race Day Scoring. So all that stuff is going to continue to improve this year. You'll see a UI refresh for RaceJoy, which is kind of long overdue. James is going to be extraordinarily happy once that project finishes. We have new versions of all of our check-in apps that are going to be coming out this year. The timer dashboard is also going to become your hub for timers for all the Race Day Scoring. So lots of things are just going to happen automatically. You'll be able to look at your 5 scoring teams that are out in the field and see consolidated statistics and put your hands and help them out and things like that. So it'll be really nice. GiveSignup. Allison, do you want to take over?
Sure. So GiveSignup, we announced this new division of our company back in July of 2019, back in the good days. But for those of you who haven't heard about GiveSignup is a team within RunSignup that focuses exclusively on solving problems for nonprofits. And we do that in two ways. So the first is we develop features that help nonprofits raise more money, save time. And the second way is we help nonprofits use these features so that they can raise money and engage their supporters. This strategy of, GiveSignup and our reason to expand from just endurance to help nonprofits in more ways is really because of RunSignup and our 10 years of relationships with more than 8,000 nonprofits that were happy to use us for their fundraising 5K or as a charity partner for a big competitive race. And so it's been really the good thing that did happen this year is we were able to help a lot of nonprofits raise money during a really difficult time with our ways to engage supporters virtually. We saw about a 30% increase in donations on our platform. And so to start talking about GiveSignup, I want to go through some of the trends we saw in this year to explain that increase. So the first stat from this year is the huge increase in donation dollars per event. We saw a 44% increase in donation dollars from 2019 to 2020. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see that's driven by a huge increase in the number of donations per event. So when COVID hit, what happened was nonprofits really quickly pivoted to virtual experiences. And one of the most popular ways for nonprofits to engage their supporters was by putting on these free or low-cost virtual events with donations and potentially an option to fundraise. And it really showed that donors were very committed to supporting the nonprofits and the missions that they cared about, regardless of the event experience. And so I really think that, people are good. They want to see your nonprofit survive. And I really think that is explaining that huge increase in the number of donations that we saw for races in 2020. And if we go to the next slide, the interesting thing is that 72% of those donations were less than $25. And I mean, it just kind of goes to show again, like how good people are. They want to contribute, they want to make things better, and people are willing to help out, even if it is just a donation of less than $25. And if we go to the next slide, so this looks kind of like similar data, but this is talking about the volume of donation dollars and what amount of donation they came from. And so here you'll see that 33% of donation dollars came from donations greater than $100. And that kind of, when you set up your donations on a RunSignup or a GiveSignup page, you're able to create donation levels. And so what your nonprofit wants to do is really make the ask for the small donations so that everyone can contribute something, but also continue to make that ask for larger donations because those donations are still coming in even during a difficult year. One of our most popular features on RunSignup GiveSignup is our free Facebook fundraiser integration. In 2019, the percent of donations for events that had enabled this integration was 6.4% coming from Facebook and 93% coming from GiveSignup, RunSignup. And in 2020, that grew where those events that enabled the Facebook fundraiser integration had 15% of their donations coming directly from Facebook and 85% from GiveSignup, RunSignup. I think that is really correlated with the increased amount of time that people were spending online and on Facebook. I believe earlier this year, Facebook reported like a 14% increase in user time on their platform. And so that just goes to show that, enabling this Facebook fundraiser integration on your events and your DIY fundraising pages really gives your fundraisers the tools that they need to meet their goals. We found that 48.7% of connected fundraisers were able to reach their goal, whereas in those same events, the fundraisers who didn't create that connected fundraiser page on Facebook, only 29.7% reached their goal. So the free Facebook fundraiser integration is available to any nonprofit that's approved for Facebook payments. And it is really continues to be one of the best tools that you can give your fundraisers to meet their fundraising goals and to help your nonprofit raise more money. So next, we want to go through a recap of great features that our development team came out with in 2020. So I want to start with Run, Walk, Ride, the RunSignup platform. As I mentioned, one of the most popular ways for nonprofits to engage their supporters were free and low-cost virtual fundraising events, making it easy for anyone to participate and giving them the option to donate, fundraise, and just create a community around your nonprofit's mission. The second really great way that nonprofits were able to raise money and engage supporters this year is our challenge platform. And I just ran the numbers the other day. For last year, the challenge platform helped our customers raise over $40 million and helped engage 533,000 supporters. So those are really impressive numbers. And the great thing about the challenge platform is, first of all, it's endurance and non-endurance. So we saw all sorts of creative events beyond just mileage challenges. We saw book reading challenges, good deed challenges, picking up trash challenges. Like, people got very creative with the challenge platform. So it's very versatile and you can really make the challenge connected to your mission. The second great thing is the challenge platform is here to stay. It's a great way for you to engage with your supporters beyond a virtual fundraising 5K that you're doing or an in-person fundraising 5K that you're doing. You can extend that engagement over the course of several weeks. And we found that these challenges are having better returns on fundraising because you have that longer period of engaging with your supporters and encouraging them to meet their fundraising goals. With the challenge platform, we came out with some great features. I think one of the really important things that we did this year was on our results pages. A lot of nonprofit events, the Run, Walk, Ride events, are fundraising focused first. They prioritize the fundraising aspect above the results aspect. And we've added some key features like this fundraising progress bar on results pages and a link to the results page from the fundraising page. And that really gives you versatile ways to engage with participants that have different types of motivations for participating in your event. Your fundraising first participants can really focus on that fundraising aspect of things, but you still have all the cool tools and features that RunSignup gives you to track results, track challenge, logging over a period of time. 2020 was not the best year for ticketed events, but we still made some really great progress on new features for tickets, because the one thing that we do know is events are going to come back and people are going to want to do activities again. And nonprofits are going to be able to use our ticketing platform to both sell tickets and to raise money. So in 2020, one of the major things that we did was introduce a simple ticketing wizard, just to make it very easy and simple for your nonprofit to set up a ticketed event. We added some more advanced features like combo tickets, which allows you to sell, say you have 2 adult tickets, you can say when you buy 2 adult tickets, you get 2 kid tickets free, and offer that conditionality for pricing on your tickets. We also have features that help your nonprofit raise more. That's a key differentiator from these generic platforms for ticketing like Eventbrite, where we are giving you tools to incentivize your attendees to donate more and help your nonprofit raise more money. Donation discounts allow you to apply an automated discount on the ticket purchase cart based on the amount donated. We're really excited about our ticketing platform, and I'll go over some of our plans for 2021 in a couple slides. But let's go to the next one. So fundraising campaigns. A new feature of GiveSignup is coming out with these standalone fundraising, DIY fundraising campaigns that you can set up that aren't attached to your Run, Walk, Ride event on RunSignup's platform. Like our RunSignup fundraising pages, these campaigns also allow your fundraisers to integrate with Facebook. We've added some of our key features like campaign slideshows and fundraiser slideshows that allow your nonprofit and your fundraisers to add images to really tell their fundraising story and their DIY fundraising journey. We've also done a ton of work on fundraiser reports. So from your dashboard, you're able to drill into a specific campaign, a specific fundraiser. You're able to upload manual donations and attach them to your different fundraisers. So we continue to make really good progress on our fundraiser reports. We know that's a key reason why our customers have liked using RunSignup for their fundraising 5K. And so we want to bring that same reporting strength and flexibility over to our new GiveSignup fundraising campaigns. We've also made a lot of progress on donations. So in 2020, we introduced donation forms and a simple wizard to create your donation form. We just recently released some new features around e-cards, and that's that second screenshot on the bottom. So when you have donors that come to your donation website and make a donation, you can now allow them to choose a great design, and we have a really nice interface for them to enter the email of the person they want to gift that donation to. So it's a really nice way for you to give your donors more flexible options and more motivation to make a donation to your cause. We've also added, like I said, a ton of reporting features and just a really nice user experience. This is a very clean, optimized flow for donations, and we continue to iterate and make new improvements and releases to our new donation forms and websites. And then we've also done some recent updates to financials that I think are really interesting for nonprofits specifically. So from your payment account, the first feature that we've added is the ability to export a CSV of all of your transactions per funds transfer. That's actually useful to all of our customers, our large customers that have many events on RunSignup, but you can now have that full report. And then the second release that just happened the other week is we've added this ability for you to add custom account codes for each entity that you have on the GiveSignup RunSignup platform. These custom account codes are really for your own internal reconciliation processes. And where they're going to show is on that export of transactions per funds transfer. So that way, if you're part of a large nonprofit organization and you have different departments that, different races and donation websites and tickets should be attributed to, you can easily enter those codes on your payment account page now and eliminate any sort of like VLOOKUP, merge process that you have to do manually because it's all automated. So in 2021, we have a lot of really big plans for GiveSignup. The first one is we're going to make it easier for you to create DIY fundraising campaigns with a new simple wizard. Tickets is where we expect a lot of new users in 2021 as events start coming back, and we want to just pile more features into there. So the first feature is adding a standalone store. Right now, your ticket attendees are able to purchase items when they buy a ticket, but we want to elevate that to a standalone store where you can sell items all year. The next feature is a lightweight online auction. A lot of nonprofits do auctions at their gala events, and these software platforms that are currently available are very high cost, high overhead, really more targeted towards in-person auctions events. And so what we want to do is offer kind of a hybrid store auction solution for our customers that gives you a lot of functionality and ease to host auctions in a really easy, usable way. We're going to be adding all these photo features that are in races today to ticketed events. And we're also going to be adding a lot of the fundamental ticket management features that you enjoy in RunSignup, like the ability to renew, copy your ticket events, manage your ticket event holders' information more easily and flexibly. The other key thing that we're going to be doing with tickets in 2021 is a loose coupling between tickets and fundraising campaigns. There isn't really a good ticketing platform out there that has fundraising. And so what we're going to be able to do on our platform is we are going to be allow you to have fundraising campaigns that are attached to your ticketed events in a really user-friendly and easy way. We're planning on offering text to donate options. I don't have details about what that's going to look like at this time, but we do plan to research this and figure out the best ways that we can apply this to the GiveSignup platform in 2021. The DIY fundraising campaigns are going to continue to get new features. the key for 2021 is really the ability to have different milestones and notifications attached to those milestones in your DIY fundraising campaigns. In RunSignup, this project has already started, but we want to change the word of the race to an event. A lot of nonprofits don't like the word race because they aren't putting on a competitive event. And so we want to make the RunSignup registration a bit more generic and flexible for nonprofit run, walk, ride events. So this change of wording will show in several places. First, when you create a run, walk, ride event on GiveSignup, the wizard branding will show event instead of race. Second, it's going to show in the URL on participant-facing pages. So instead of having race in your URL, you'll be able to have event in your URL. And then the third place is in the dashboard. That's going to be a massive project that's going to take a long time. But over time, you'll see we'll make an effort to replace the word race in your dashboard where you're controlling everything with the word event. And then finally, I think this is one of the really cool benefits of this big financial project that's going on this year, is we're going to be able to offer your nonprofits more controlled and flexible DIY fundraising payment options. So as an example, if you want to allow your supporters to create a ticket event for your nonprofit, you'll be able to control how the payments flow and whether you allow that to be attached to your nonprofit or not. The other really big project that is going to be going on this year is content management. So on your RunSignup pages, you're able to add menus and pages and custom content and really have a full event website. We're going to be bringing that customization ability over to tickets and donation websites, but with a new interface that makes it even easier for you to add and organize your content. The true power of our free websites is that they are integrated with your real-time data. And for nonprofits, that's going to mean that you are able to display, a donation goal on your ticketed event page, and you're going to be able to choose which websites and which events all filter up to show in that donation goal. So it's going to give you a lot of flexibility, a lot of just power of having that data integrated website for all of your different events and your donations and your fundraising campaigns. So that is it for GiveSignup. I'm really excited about 2021. Kind of the 4 buckets of development and product that we're going to be releasing are, building out more features around our free and data-driven websites, improving these tools that let you raise money and engage supporters with tickets and fundraising and donations. The third is this free supporter engagement platform that lets you engage and communicate in really targeted ways with your donors and supporters. And finally, it's the power of the integrated payments and financials that's driving all of this. So really excited about this comprehensive vision, and I really think that our product roadmap for 2021 is going to continue to expose all the linkages and the power of having all these different buckets within a single platform.
Thanks, Allison.
All right.
Johanna, did you want to take over the screen, or do you want me to switch?
I'm sure I'm stealing the screen from you now.
Okay. Thank
you. Takes me. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
I was going to say I'm on the same slide, so that might not have been helpful, but. All right. So I'm going to change gears a little bit from kind of technology and what we've been doing and take a look back at the race trends report that we just put out this week. This is a report that we've done last 5 or 6 years, taking a look at what kinds of trends we see on our platform in terms of, if races are growing, what marketing tools are working, when people register, that kind of thing. And it's always one of my favorite projects because we work with races every day and we think we have a good understanding of what's happening in the industry. But it's good to get some numbers to kind of verify or tell us that we're wrong about what's working and what's not and what people are really looking for. This year's report is definitely different. I'm usually talking about, 1% changes here and there, and there's obviously pretty big changes across the industry this year. A lot of the numbers feel pretty bleak and stark when you look at them. But I honestly going through all of it, end up coming out that all things considered, it's really impressive what race directors and timers have done this year. We had, a complete halting of events in an events industry, and people were able to really, think about what they were doing, get creative, come up with new ideas, and find different types of events to kind of bridge the gap until they can get back out to what they want to be doing. So this is just kind of the base numbers that we're looking at. Normally with these numbers, it's just an overview of what things look like on the RunSignup platform. And most years I can say, well, the RunSignup platform has grown, so these numbers don't necessarily reflect growth in the industry. In some ways that is still true, but obviously everything, including that number of participants on RunSignup, is down this year too. But I think the point of showing this is to give you guys an idea of what kind of database we're working with. Even in this year, we had close to 5 million participants and 46,000 race events represented. Race events there is actually signaling like a 5K and a 10K in one race will count as 2 race events because you want to be able to compare the 5K to the 5K and the 10K to the 10K. If you're looking back at 2019, those numbers were like 7 million participants and such. So we have a pretty big database of information to look back at. When we last looked at what we think the market looks like in 2019, kind of based on what other reporting said of the number of races in the country, we had us estimated about 20 to 30% of market share. It's harder to know what the actual market share was in 2020, but that gives you an idea of where, how much data is being looked at here. All right, so Bob did kind of some of this, but putting some numbers to what really happened here. Participation rates. So what this chart looks at specifically is races that were on our platform in 2019 that did come back and had a race in 2020. In many cases that they went virtual or they did something different, but it was the same race that held an event again in 2020. So that's looking at a 48.1% decline in participants in that event. That doesn't necessarily mean 48.1% less people did events, but it means if you had a 5K in 2019, you had 200 people come to it. In 2020, you had 100 people come to it. And that's kind of where the average broke out. I think that's a lot of what we saw, again, kind of just anecdotally watching the races that we work with, is that a 50% attendance rate for a race that is traditionally in person that went virtual is somewhat normal. There's a wide range there. We saw races that were more like 30%. We saw races that were like 80%, depending on the type of event, what type of year it was, and that kind of thing. But that tracks pretty closely with what I think we would have thought. The comparison to that is actually going back to the full RunSignup participation numbers. On the platform as a whole, the drop wasn't quite as steep. We saw a 35.5% drop in participants there. Some of that is going to be races that moved to our platform either because they were planning on it anyways or because we had a lot of virtual tools that some other registration platforms didn't have. But it's also, I think, worth noting that a lot of that is simply race directors and timers who had events on our platform, who created new events specifically to kind of meet the time. So maybe they normally have a 5K, and instead of just converting their 5K, they also added a new virtual event to try to make up to some of the revenue that was lost on their traditional event. I think that the creativity that we talked about is showing that difference between the 48% and the 35%. One thing I will note here is it looks like there was a massive growth in ultras on our platform. That's a little bit misleading. What happened there is that a lot of challenge events that are listed as 100, 200 miles are going to show up as ultra events because the distance is an ultra distance, but they aren't typically what you're thinking of as an ultra marathon. Repeat participation. So this isn't just how many participants overall came from year to year. This is specifically if you did a race in 2019, did you do that same race in 2020? Over the last couple of years, it's been a pretty consistent 17 to 18% of runners who do a race in one year come back the next year. This year that was down to 10%. That probably tracks along pretty well with that 48% drop. And it's a lot of participants who may be loyal to your event, but really weren't interested in the offering this year. So I think we expect to see that start to come back up. as events are able to happen more as you would like them to. Race churn is a report that we pull. Lewis does this for us manually by month. It's not a super easy report to put together, so we look only at races that are over 500 participants for this. Literally requires some research to find out what's happening to races. And we do this for two reasons. One is to track the number of races that just don't happen again. Normally we look at that as kind of an indicator of how much competition and pressure there is in the market to see how many races die and just don't come back. We also do it to look at competitors and to see if there's anywhere that we are missing technology that someone else has. So compared to last year, 38.4% of races that happened in 2019 just didn't happen in 2020. Didn't happen on our platform, didn't happen at all. Comparatively, I think in 2019, that was 5.9% of races didn't recur. The difference here, I think, is that normally we think of that number as races that have gone away and are not coming back. Obviously, some percentage of that 38.4% of races intends to come back in the future. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I would say, I think, there's reasons that a lot of races chose to sit this one out. But if you're looking at 2021 and you're thinking about whether you should cancel again, if there's any way that you can do any sort of event, whether it's virtual or hybrid, or just some kind of very small modified event in person, missing 2 calendar years, it's hard to stay in people's consciousness. So if you had to skip in 2020, I'd really be focusing on trying to come up with something that you can do in 2021. I'm gonna look a little bit more at that competitor churn on the next one. So like I said, we track also races that go to other competitors to see if there's anyone that is doing some things right that we should look at and learn from. Honestly, over the years, we have seen very little consistent movement to any given platform. The one that sticks out here in Motive is a little bit misleading because most of this year's were due to a race series that, with an acquisition with a registration.
Gannett bought Rogue Maniac and they bought Motive, so that's why the 38 went over to Motive.
Yeah, and that's the big majority of that one, and the rest of it is little trickles here and there of races that may be looking for something different or want to change. But overall, this chart usually makes us feel pretty good about how we're doing. COVID-19 and timers. So I think Bob mentioned that Shelley had put out a timer survey to look at what's going on in the timer market generally, as well as this year with COVID. We'll talk about it more when we get to the race day section. But one of the things that I think is worth noting here is that timers got hit hard this year too. It's not just races. 81% basically of timers had a significant impact from COVID. They're still there. They're still hanging around. They still want to be a part of your race. But that's a pretty big number. And if you have worked with a timer, I think most people think of them as the people who show up on race day and give you results. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the other things that they're doing, but timers are really staples in the industry. So I think seeing that many of them were hit hard is a big indicator of what's really happened this year, particularly with in-person races. How are they adjusting to that? Like I said, a lot of timers are coming up with other things that they can do. So timers have helped with a lot of virtual races. A lot of race directors who didn't have time to learn all of the new virtual platforms jumped in and were able to find timers to help them with things like that. Some of them chose to wait out some of 2020 and just see what was going on. But I know they are eager to get back to work. Virtual trends. So this is specifically looking at both virtual races and virtual challenges. I have asked for these charts every year. So the one benefit of 2020 is that it was finally worth developers' time to give them to me because we actually have enough volume for two worth it. It is interesting to look at though. I think one of the things that we really have seen, I might have hypothesized before, but I think we've really seen play out this year is that your virtual runners aren't necessarily your in-person runners. There's overlap. There are people who are happy to do both, but it's not really the same group that you're targeting. So when we talk about things like, runners are tired of virtual, runners don't want to do virtual, that's certainly true for some people. There are people who never wanted to do virtual in the first place, and they're not happy that that's still the choice. But there are also people who are never going to show up to your event on race day, who are going to do a virtual event, and it's really more tailor-made for that kind of person. And that's really why I think we hope one thing that comes out of this is races are more motivated in the future to include a virtual option for their regular race all of the time, because you have people out there who aren't going to show up on race day, but who want to do something, and it's a way to keep, kind of expand your pool of participants. First way that we see some differences, the demographics of virtual races are very different. We see a lot more women in virtual races than we do men. That has been true throughout time. 63%, 64% are women in virtual races in 2020. I think that went up to about 65 or 66 for virtual challenges. I actually think that the real number, when things go somewhat back to normal, might be even higher for that. 2019, it was 72% were female, and it's a much smaller sample size when you're looking at 2019 numbers. But it's also people, who chose to do virtual when there was a choice of in-person. So, it'll be interesting to see in 2021 if any of the men who tried out virtual this year come back, or if it continues to be really dominated by women. Similarly, it's a much older crowd who are inclined to do virtual races. The under 30 group is really underrepresented in both virtual races and virtual challenges. At the same time, there's a lot more flexibility for people over 40. It's 56% for virtual challenges and 53% for virtual races are over 40. I think some of that is flexibility, working into someone's life a little bit better. They have kids, they have a lot of work responsibilities, and life is just busier. Some of it is just motivation to get out. People are more likely to be running or being active for something to do and to keep them engaged and in shape, and less likely for competition. But it's a group of people who are looking for activities, and I think we'll continue to look for activities that work with their lives, even when lives get busier. The size of virtual events, I think the biggest takeaway from this is that virtual events are basically the same size as in-person events. If you look at the chart over here, that the black line there is in-person, virtual, and then challenge, and they are pretty close together. And what that means is just, the vast majority of virtual races are under 500 participants. So are the vast majority of in-person in-person events. So if you're looking to do a new virtual event this year and you're wondering how many people to plan for, I think it's reasonable to remember that you have the same resources, you have the same contact list, you have the same marketing abilities that you do for your in-person race. So if you're going to invest heavily in marketing and in finding new people, then you may be able to go out and grow and have, one of the 1,000, 5,000 person virtual races that definitely exist out there. But if you're going to plan on relying on the exact same resources, then it's going to end up being the same similar size event. How long are virtual events? Generally, I think this falls into about what we would have thought. About half of virtual races are between 8 and 30 days. So 2-3 weeks is a pretty good range that we see a lot. There are some that branch into that 31 to 90 days, although a little bit of that may be 31-day months, where they gave them a month, and some that are a little bit shorter. I think the 2 weeks or so is a good sweet spot to give people multiple weekends and plenty of flexibility to make sure they're able to actually complete the virtual run, but not keep it open so long that people just put it off and never really feel like they need to actually do it. Challenges are definitely longer. You see a lot of those in the 1 to 4 months range. With that, I think that's the benefit of a challenge, is someone is giving you money and they feel like they get a lot of value from it because they have an experience that lasts for 3 months. It also does mean that you have to be prepared to engage with participants for that long of a period of time. Registration trends. So when do people register? This curve looks pretty similar to what we've seen in previous years, with a kind of a spike at the beginning and then a real slowdown comes back up and peaks on race day or race week. 26% of registrations were on race week this year. I think that's about 2% more than last year, which actually is a little surprised that wasn't even worse, given some of the hesitation to register quickly this year. But I think one note I would have is I've seen some races that are starting to put together plans for in-person events that want to not have race day registration. I understand why you wouldn't want to do that with paper forms or kiosks this year if you're trying to reduce touch points. But I do think you want to make sure then that you leave your online registration open, that you have information shared clearly about how someone can register on their phone on race day, to make sure that you are capturing people who are just going to be a little gun shy about saying they're going to participate in something this year until they're really, really sure it's going to happen and they're really, really sure that they're going to feel okay about it. A slight increase in registrations more than 90 days before race day, particularly for shorter events, but I think that is actually a little bit misleading because they were largely events that someone had registered for, that then the date got moved more than 3 months out. And so they didn't mean to register 4 months in advance. It's just the race ended up happening much later than they expected. Prices across the board fell considerably. This is going to be an impact of virtual as well. Can charge, if you look at the longer distances saw a greater drop in price. And that kind of makes sense when you think you can charge $160 for an in-person marathon, and you may need to cover the costs of your permitting and your road closures and things. But for a virtual marathon, most people are not going to pay that. And your costs for a virtual marathon aren't really going to be any different than your costs for a virtual 5K. So I think that's brought a lot of the prices down as is. I also think a lot of virtual races were charging for shipping as an add-on, which is not a part of the registration price then. So that's bringing down what their base price was, that they're adding onto it with the additional cost. With that, I expect to come back up next year. I also think, there may be some instances where people are actually needing to raise prices above their 2019 levels to compensate for extra PPE, having smaller caps for their races, just trying to make up some of the revenue that was lost last year. I include this slide basically to tell you to ignore it. What this asks or looks at is how many registrations came in within the 3 days before a price increase or registration closing. And we usually use this to kind of see how well people are responding to calls to action, if they're being prompted to register. A couple of reasons I think this is way down this year. One, there were fewer price increases. That's one of the other reports that's in the main report. It's not on one of the slides, is that fewer races had price increases. The registration periods were a lot shorter, and there was just a lot less appetite for putting pricing pressure on people, and people were more concerned about registering and a race being canceled than they were about losing $5. So I don't think that this really means much for the future. I would continue to use strong calls to action when you reach out to people. And I think that we will kind of see this one revert. Mobile adoption, this is how many people are looking at your race website on a phone or a tablet instead of on a desktop. Every year that we do this, I keep thinking this trend has to at some point sort of level out, and that has not yet happened. So we are up to basically 73% of all website views are on mobile or a tablet. And even transactions, people completing your registrations, is over 50% on mobile or tablet. It's not just important that you have a mobile responsive site. Like, if it's more important that you have a mobile responsive site than that you have a desktop, a good, pretty desktop site. So if you're using a RunSignup website, those have all been enabled, optimized to be used on mobile. That makes it really simple that you don't have to do anything else. If you're not using one, I would be very, very careful about checking every picture, every menu item that you have to make sure that it's really easy to use. I also think when you're doing registration on phones, making sure that you're not asking extra questions that you really don't need to ask. The faster you can get someone through registration, the more likely it is that they're actually going to complete the registration on their phone and not have to come back later, which they may or may not end up doing then. Promotion trends, this looks at a few of our marketing tools and how they performed this year. If you've ever seen basically any presentation from any RunSignup employee, We have probably mentioned referral rewards because even prior to this year, it's really been, I think, considered the most effective way to market a lot of events for very low cost. The way referral rewards works is essentially that all of your runners get a link that is sent to them when they register that is unique, and they can share that with their friends and their family and ask their friends and family to join them in this event. If those people do register with that link, then the original person is credited with a referral. Races then can set up a kind of a tiered system where, say, they get a certain number of people referred to the event, then they will get a refund of a specific amount back to their account. So a way that we often see this working is, if you refer 5 people to the race, then you'll get a $20 refund. That refund is automatic. And what happens a lot is that people register, they see the reward, and they think, $20 would be nice. And they share the link, and you get 1 or 2 people who are referred, and then they move on, and they never reach 5, and you never refund them, but you got a couple of registrations out of it. If you do have people who hit the 5 threshold, that's great. It's still 5 registrations for $20, still a pretty good deal. You also can end up with some people who really end up just blowing it out of the water and sharing it a lot. Referrals, we learned, were tailor-made for a very online world. In 2019, 7% of registrations were from referrals when they were turned on. This year, it was up to 17% of registration dollars were from referrals when they are enabled. We saw that even ridiculously high numbers on certain races. This just means, making sure that you have a program in place and making sure that people are encouraged to share it. You remind them when you email them other information that this program exists, and you want them to be sharing the race, because it's really valuable if you can get them to kind of promote your event for you. Groups and teams, I think this says a lot about how much events were still social events this year, in spite of the fact that they were so virtual. It's actually a slight increase in the number of runners who joined a team when they were available. You're up to 31.4% will join a team. If you're doing a virtual event, I almost think it's more important to allow groups, or if it's hybrid and you want people to be able to be on a group that's either virtual or the in-person, because it's really a way that people who aren't able to see each other right now can do something that is theoretically together. So I can get my mom and my sister who are in different states to sign up, and on the day that we choose, we can all kind of go out and pretend like we did a race together and have something that feels like a little bit of a shared experience. It's really a good way to use social connections to get people, again, to promote your race for you. Email marketing, this is actually, there is some reporting in the report on automated emails and how many registrations come from that and such, but I pulled this one instead for this because it just says a lot about how much communication was done this year. That dark orange line is 2020 emails that were sent. It totaled 258 million emails that were sent from the RunSignup platform this year, including, I think, 34 million in November. Part of that is probably the just need to communicate changes to races and how to do virtual events and things. But I also think it's worth thinking about if you've had a rough year where you can save money. Our email platform is not the fanciest one that's out there, but it's free. And if you need to do a lot of communications, you want to make sure that you're able to promote your races. It's a nice way to make sure that you can send all of the emails you need without it cutting into your budget for the year. This looks at data from our Google Analytics to get an idea where traffic is coming from for your race websites. The big one I wanted to highlight here is just 24.9% of website views were from social media. Something like 96% of that is from Facebook. There's a little bit of Instagram in there, but the vast majority is Facebook. So again, like it or hate it, Facebook is driving a lot of traffic to races right now. You want to make sure that your social sharing images are updated, that your messaging that people see when they share your race is updated, and that you're giving people incentives like groups or fundraising or referrals, giving them reasons to share your race, because that's really going to drive a lot of people to you. The last one on promotions, Race Insights is essentially, it's the data that you see when you open up your dashboard. It's our kind of built-in analytics engine that looks at where every registration dollar, every click every donation comes from, so that you can see what's happening with your marketing. I'm not going to go into everything that's on here. The one that I wanted to pull out there is how many are from a search engine. We have that at 14.9%. It's probably a little bit lower than the actual number there, because what can happen is if you have your own external website before they get to RunSignup, and they Google you and they go to your external website first and then come to us, that's actually not tracked then that it came from the search engine originally. That's probably even higher than it looks. But that just means you need to make sure that your website is optimized for search engines. RunSignup's websites are really good at being searchable. We have a lot of races that if I search for them, I find our website before I find their real website. So if you are not using the race website, I'd say it's really important that you work with someone who can help you make sure that you are showing up first when you get to Google. Race day. Check-in app, this is another one that I put up here to tell you that it's lying. Over the last couple of years, we've seen increased usage in the check-in app. That's obviously down this year because there's just not a lot of people to check in when you're doing a lot of virtual races. But I did want to put a pin in it because I think it's going to be even more important in 2021 than in most years. Chris, later today, is going to talk about some of the plans for how to put together a modified race day that's safe, and keeping runners moving efficiently through things like packet pickup is really a really important part of that. So making sure that you are up to date on the check-in app, or you're working with someone who is up to date on the check-in app, can help you to make sure that you can reduce touch points on race day and get people in and out as quickly as possible. Scored notification, results notifications. These are the text messages that go out, traditional text message notifications that go out when someone completes a race. I think the overall number of races that used them this year stayed pretty steady, but I did want to note, on average, the races that were sending them were much smaller. And I think a lot of that shows that races that were happening in person this year that couldn't do the kinds of fun, normal after party spectator things that they do to engage people, were looking for ways to use technology to make the race day a little bit more fun. And you can find some places to give people perks if you can't give them the normal ones. RaceJoy is our runner tracking app. It's available through certified timers. It had just a record-breaking year this year, 168% growth in the number of races offering RaceJoy, and a 50% increase in the number of participants using it. That a lot of that is due to the hard work they did right off the bat in the spring to make RaceJoy usable for virtual races, so that you could use a virtual RaceJoy anywhere option, go out for a run where you are, let people track you. It would automatically report your virtual results for you. And you could have a little bit of fun with it, where a race could upload some fun cheers and some fun audio experiences to make the virtual race feel a little bit more real. So a lot of the usage comes from that. We've also seen people needing to use it for their kind of modified in-person events, so that they can put in some off-course alerts and reminders to help keep people on track if they're going to be planning on using fewer volunteers on course, as well as just saying, you can't have spectators here to watch you along the way because we can't have extra people on site, but you can have them track you on RaceJoy and they can interact with you that way. This is the timing survey that we noted. This went out in early January and kind of takes a look at what timing businesses are like. The takeaway on this is, they're largely small enterprises. They typically have, under 20 employees. There's some exceptions that are very large companies, but the average timing business is on the smaller side. It's often owned by someone who actually works and is engaged there. And that's often the person that we're talking to, because this is what they do and this is what they love. And they help some timers under them to execute on it. But they're the ones taking responsibility for the business. A lot of them, though, are working outside of timing. This big green over here, that's all people who have a full-time job outside of timing. And I think what is important about that is these are people who love the industry. They want to help you. They're doing this because they love it, not because it's their full-time job. And you should trust their advice a little bit when you need help with the races. How are they staying competitive? A lot of that comes with building relationships with races, sharing what you can do for the races that you're working with, and offering extra services. That being things like marketing, virtual results, shipping, fulfillment, anything you can really think of. If you don't know where to go for it, you should ask your timer, because they may be able to do it. And if they can't, they probably know someone who can. The last one on there that I will point out is that keeping self-education on the latest technology. I think at some point in here, I note something like 90% of timers say they're reviewed as being the technology expert by their races. And I think we see them that way too. They spend a lot of time on education to give good advice to the races they work with. I'm not going to go through all of these, but back to the services that are offered. If you think of your timer only as the guy who shows up on race day, most of them are doing a whole lot more than that, and are capable of really providing a lot of guidance. The good thing is timers are mostly being proactive going into 2021. I think Bob shared at some point the number of them who are, being really going out and trying to actually capture more market share, being aggressive with hoping to pick up some races and want to keep growing their business. 70% of them have already talked to the race directors about what they're doing for 2021. So if you haven't talked to your timer yet, reach out to them. It's time to start making sure everyone knows they're on the same page. And the last one I'll point here, 87% of timers have either hosted an in-person event or are working on one in the coming months. The industry is moving forward. We absolutely want people to do things safely, but I think the last couple of months, people have really proven that they can put on in-person events safely. And 68, I think, percent of those, 60 of those had actually already done those in-person events. So they've been done before. There are some proof points of how they're done. And people are going to keep continuing to push them out this spring. And I think that is it. Quick reminders, if you are coming back later today, there's a new link for each session today. Those are going to be pretty fast overview sessions for the different types of events. If you are looking for more detailed how-to type sessions on specific features, there are a lot of those tomorrow, which will take place on Zoom. If you're joining the Zoom sessions tomorrow, there's just 3 different links. You can join any of those 3 rooms at any time during the day. You can switch rooms at any time during the day, and jump in and get a little more information, mostly from account managers who are going to talk to you about how they see their customers needing to use features.
Thanks, Johanna. Thanks, Allison. I think we're at 12:59, so I don't think we have time for questions. There is a Q&A session tomorrow at 4:30. So send us your questions, hard ones. I like hard ones.